So now that we've successfully set up our login and registration, one last ingredient that we need to add to this whole flow is the ability to display our progress dialog whilst the login is going on or the registration is going on. So without wasting any further time, let's just get right into it. So for the sake of code organization and reusability, so I'm going to go ahead and create a separate widget that is going to stand as our progress dialog. So let's go ahead and create a new .dat file inside our widget folder. So I'm going to name this file progress dialog. Now the first thing we need to do is to import the material.dat package. So I'm going to have import material.dart. Alright, so I'm going to have to create a new stateless widget. So I'm going to call this progress dialog. So the build method is going to return a dialog. So instead of having a container here, I'm going to change this to a dialog. Alright, so the dialog is going to take in a shape, and the shape is going to be a rounded rectangle border, and the border radius is going to be equal to border radius circular, and I'm going to pass in the radius of 10. The next thing we need to do will be to go ahead and set the background color. So I'm going to have colors.transparent. Now the next thing we need to do will be to set up a child. So the child is going to be a container, and this container is going to have some margin, and the width is going to be double.infinity. Now the next thing I need to set will be the decoration. Right, so here I'm going to have a color. The color is going to be colors.white. So I'm going to set the border radius to 4. Right, so the child of the container is going to be a row widget. So inside of the row widget, we're going to have a circular indicator, and we're going to have a text that can actually display the status of whatever thing our app is doing at that moment. So I'm going to go ahead and say child. So this is going to be a row widget. So inside of the row widget, first of all, I'm going to have a sized box, and the width is going to be 5 pixels. And I'm going to go ahead and add our circular progress indicator, which is this. The next thing we need to do will be to set the color. So I'm going to have value color. This is going to be always stopped animation of the type of color. And the color is going to be brand colors.accent. So the color accent I think is somewhat around green, so we can check that in our brand colors later on. Alright, so with this we have a circular progress indicator widget. The next thing we need to do is to add some space between the circular indicator and the text widget. So I'm going to have a size box here. Now the next thing will be to have a text widget that's going to display the status. Because this status needs to always be changing depending on the state of our application, so we need to kind of send in this value through our constructor. So I'm going to go to the top of this class, and I'm going to create a final variable. So I'm going to have final string status. So I'm going to use the constructor to bring in this value. So I'm going to have progress dialog and this.status. Now I can now simply go ahead and replace this status here. And I can go ahead and add some padding around our row widget. So I'm going to pad this by 16. So I think this will suffice. So this is basically all that we need to do to create a very simple but beautiful progress dialog that works for us. Now we need to go into the login page and registration page and make use of the progress dialog. Alright, so as soon as we're about to start the login process, we're going to go ahead and display the dialog. So to do that, I can simply go ahead and say show dialog. So the context is going to be contest, but this is not all that we need. Okay, so there are other things that I need to add to this. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pass in a builder. So the builder is necessary because we want to display a custom widget as our dialog. So here I'm going to have build contest and contest, and I'm going to pass it our progress dialog, and here we're going to pass in the status. So the status is going to be logging you in. So we need to make the dialog to be non-dismissible. So I'm going to have barrier dismissible. I'm going to set this to false. So the flow is that as soon as the login starts, we'll display this dialog. If we run into any error, we're going to go ahead and pop our dialog by just calling navigator.pop. So at this time when the user is about to log in, we can go ahead and pop it as well, navigator.pop. So this will also suffice, but we don't need to pop it here. By just calling push named and remove until, it will remove all existing contexts. So this is just very okay. Now we need to go to the registration page and make use of the progress dialog as well. Just to save us a lot of time, I can just go ahead and copy all of this here and go into the registration page, and as soon as the registration starts, I'm going to go ahead and paste this here. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this to import the progress dialog. Okay, so this will go ahead and resolve the progress dialog. So the status is going to be registering you. So if we encounter any error, I'm going to go ahead and pop this contest, or pop our dialog rather, and if the login is successful, I can also go ahead and pop. Okay, so this is basically all that we need to do. Now to verify that this works properly, I'm going to go ahead and test this on our simulator. Okay, so our app is deploying. So this usually takes a couple of minutes. Okay, alright, so our app is ready to rock and roll. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to the login page. Alright, so let's go ahead and provide our details. Okay, so what we have in mind is that when we tap on this button, we'll be able to see our progress dialog, and after which, when the login is successful, it will vanish and we will be taken to the main page. And bam! So this is our progress dialog. Is very simple, but yet works. And bam, we are in the main page. So this is basically the experience that we want, so that users will be able to know exactly what's going on as they are making use of our app. So with this, we successfully completed the login and registration flow. In the upcoming sections, we're going to go ahead and start designing our app, main screen or main page, adding maps and all the good stuff that you really want to see. So as soon as you're ready, head over to the next section so that we can get started.